The 2024-25 school year marks 35 years since Cedar's trade license was first issued. So we thought it was a nice occasion to look back at the school's growth and development from its founding to the present day. One of my great joys as head of school this year has been connecting with former trustees, staff, graduates, parents, and donors who helped to shape Cedar from its origins through its early years of growth and development. From its first campus on the Ridge Road, through its locations in Pasea and Boggers Bay, to its permanent campus in Kingtown. Hearing their stories reveals the special role Cedar has played since the very beginning, providing a warm, positive learning environment for students to engage in creative thinking and problem solving, while focusing not only on academic achievement, but on character and commitment to the BVI community. It is a story best told in their words. How did the idea of Cedar start, both from a process standpoint and a school community point? How did that develop?
Okay, well, I have to admit it's my fault. So it was 1987, 88. My son Brandon was 2. He was going to start at this tutoring group called the Rainbow School. My older son, and I had 10 years between them, was 11, and he was in another tutoring group in Roadtown called the Tutoring Group, original, and it was run by a woman named Janet Hash. She's kind of in charge of it, and we wanted a college preparatory curriculum. So we put him as an interim into this middle school tutoring group, and at one point I thought, I've got a 2-year-old, an 11-year-old, 2 different tutoring groups. Wouldn't it be a good idea to maybe merge them, and then we'll just fill in the middle? We got a great board. We got Jerry Ferrara and Audley Maduro, and we got Henry Creaky, and many, many others, Margaret Thompson, some great people. And they all agreed. And we were just so thrilled. And we made a proposal, and we put it into the Department of Education under Charles Wheatley, and lo and behold, in 1990, so we started in 88, 1990, we were granted our license. The school kept on growing. It kept on growing. We eventually sent the kindergarten down to Paseo.
Right. It was George's kindergarten.
It started out as Fishy Soares' school, and we rented an old supermarket at Boggers Bay. And even that we outgrew.
That's a very short time period you're talking about there. It's like 3 years, right? From Ridge Road, Pasea to Boggers Bay.
Right.
That must have been.
And then we kept the kindergarten at Pasea for quite a while after we moved into Boggers Bay.
Operating on 2 campuses.
Yeah, so we had 2. Well, and up the Ridge Road too, at one point we had the older students down the road on the Ridge Road in that apartment building.
Yeah.
How many students did you have at that time when you were on the Ridge? Like when it started?
When we started at 22 from the 2 tutoring groups.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we gradually, I think we had around 40.
Yes,
okay.
Right.
And then maybe by the time we got to the supermarket, we were around 70.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, 1991, right?
Incredible. I don't even feel that old, Scott.
When I first started, it was on the Ridge Road.
Okay.
And, that little place in the corner on the Ridge Road. And it was very unique, looking back. And when I was back there in 2019, I drove by and I looked, I couldn't believe how small that place looked. Right?
Firstly, I'm impressed with how great the school is.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have had a school like this, because our school had it was really just a dirt yard out front.
I came in 89, September of 89, and then I was there for 2 years. I loved it, actually. I was a bit wary about being, one-on-one, because then you can't get away with anything, right?
Because you were the only member of your class, right?
I was the only one.
These guys forward were in class with me.
Okay.
We were all just crammed into one.
I was just saying, at that point, you were the only grade 12 student, but you guys were all in class together, sort of. Okay.
Yeah, we all sat in one big room and got given different work.
Oh, wow.
It was quite a challenge for the teachers to give a lesson to a class and then siphon off
it's almost
work.
It's almost like a one-room schoolhouse sort of thing where you have all these different ages. Everybody's there. They're all under your care and supervision, but doing age-appropriate tasks, right?
Yeah.
Almost like I was being tutored, to be honest. That's the best way I could describe it.
And there's no hiding in the back of the room at that point, right? I mean,
So I graduated while we were in Baldur's Bay. I think I spent a year or two in Baldur's Bay.
okay.
Yeah.
And that was the whole transition. It was not a school. You guys converted it into a school, right?
Yes, that was an apartment.
I think physics and maths, chemistry, maths, we would do separate.
Okay.
But we'd all do history together
And-
biology.
And this was in Baldur's Bay at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys had some place. There was like a tree or something.
Yeah, there's a big tamarind tree. It was where the school is now, for
Yeah.
the tech school.
Right.
And it was actually, when we went in there, that wasn't ready for school either. So we got in there, and this is when I figured out the power of kids and like a group.
Setting was so small and intimate. You were still right next to each other, but just learning at a different level.
My drive and the way I do things, it all stems from the way they teach you how to do things at Cedar School, right? They really set a good foundation there. I must say that.
What made me grow at Cedar was the fact that I was allowed to be my own person, my own individual.
I just love the hardworking parents who just came in and they hammered and they painted and they scraped.
Yes, and they drywalled and oh my gosh, cut trees and did gardening and
Did whatever it took to make it happen.
whatever it took.
Yeah.
Everyone was very enthused and we knew we had to make it happen and we did.
Yes.
Everyone did. Not just a small group of people.
It's amazing that seed that they planted has now flourished into what we have now.
Walk me through that whole process. How Cedar ended up in Kingtown.
Yeah, we looked at 2 pieces of land initially. So there was where the Montessori school is now. We looked at that and we had the opportunity to purchase that. And then we had this piece of property which belonged to Ashley Ritter at the time. Then, of course, it all came to a vote. To make the long story short, some people wanted it up the mountain still, like me. I got outvoted on that. And we came down here, the flat land.
Flat site.
And then in town, because more people had access to it. So we organized all of that land deal with the help of, Jerry Farrar and Ken Ketchum, getting that organized with Ashley Ritter. And it was great. And we got the land, and then it was, okay, now how are we going to build the school? So we had Tim Peck, who's one of the managing directors at OBM firm here. He was a parent. His wife was the art teacher. And then we had Richard Starkey in construction. So then we started kind of working on it, schematics, the design and everything.
The accreditors came through and they came back to visit, or they wrote up the report. They give recommendations, and one of their recommendations was not to build the new building.
Really?
Yes, and they were worried about the finances. So this didn't deter us. It was like, we are building this building. This is happening. But money was a very big issue. The school was really running on a shoestring. It was always hard to know how we were going to pay for things and make sure the money was there to meet the salaries and the rent and all the expenses. But the board decided this was going to move forward, and Lynn Crook really took the money reins, and she went out and started to build a fund.
I'm not a finance person. I don't know, it was like a 40, 50-page proposal. And then I had a hit list of people that I was going to go and target and personally visit. I can talk and raise money, but I'm not the money person, believe me.
You had to prove to them that the school would last.
Yes.
Because they thought, oh, well, this will be a fly-by
It's all the
night.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, people do this.
And here we are 35 years later.
Dealing with issues concerning, obviously the finances, how to grow the school, and how to really put the school on a foundation of permanency as far as the territory is concerned, because obviously no one wants to start a project like that, launch a school like that, and then at some point you can't sustain it.
So they came to us and said, we have the school that we've got planned, and it's just out of our budget, we can't afford it. So can you come with some ideas how we can get it done for the money that we have? So that's how I came into it.
The actual building process started in January, and Meridian, Richard Starkey, Percy Roden, bless them, somehow in 8.5 months, they created the building and ready for us to move in.
And Richard started working with Tim, of course, on the actual building, and he at that time had just started getting into steel buildings, which go up very quickly.
Meridian Construction built this building, and I remember the whole community was just like, how'd that school go up so quickly? I mean, it was just amazing.
I actually was so shocked how quick the building went up when it went up. It went up like that. It was a big upgrade, and it happened so quickly.
So it was a challenge because we started in February, and we had to get it finished by September, and it was just something that had to be done in a time.
And it wasn't just up; it was ready. The students were inside doing classes.
You didn't feel like you were in a hastily finished school or anything.
No. We had to decorate it. We had to, put pictures on the wall and hang up things and stuff like that. But the rooms were fully ready. Like, we didn't have to worry about paint or anything like that. So it was fully done. So whoever built it, kudos to you, because it's still standing here today and it went up in record time.
When you look at what was constructed here with the by Meridian Construction, Richard Starkey and Percy Roden, I mean, they also have to be, giving a high recognition for what they were able to do. And I believe it was done without having any direct knowledge of it, but I believe it was done, if not at cost, it was done pretty much not too much beyond cost.
The expectation is that earthquake, hurricane, whatever the natural disasters are going to be, it needs to be able to withstand those pressures. And this is what we produce.
My idea was to make the school expandable, modular. So if you go to every classroom is the same. All the doors are the same. All the windows are the same throughout the school. And also, actually, if there's a lot more room, you could just keep adding to the end of it. And we finished it on September the 12th, I think we handed it over to the school.
With this design that has a hub and then wings that come out from the hub, which I really liked, I have to say.
That design, it has served us so well. There was a need for this type of institution in the territory at the time, with an expanding economy, with financial services hadn't expanded at such a rapid rate, tourism still very fervent industry in the country, people coming in from outside, families with their children. Not all of them could be accommodated in the public schools.
The thing is, the government can't do it all. Our public schools don't have the space to take in everybody, so our private schools play a significant role in helping some of our students.
When I joined the school, at that point you had a large influx of local parents who wanted an option. CXC is an excellent model, but there are things that CXC now has that at that time a CXC program didn't have the same type of focus that Cedar had with an international program. I also think that because we're a financial services jurisdiction, when people are coming to work here, they're thinking about, well, what type of education is my child going to receive? And I think that the IB curriculum is a nice mosaic of what people can recognize. So if you're from Africa, if you're from the US, if you're from the Caribbean, if you're from Europe, there are elements within that curriculum that everyone can relate to. And that's why it was such a brilliant choice at that time, because it enhances the profile of the country as a financial services jurisdiction when you can come and bring your children and know that your children are going to be well educated.
We definitely have a role as the only accredited school IB program within the community, and I think our awareness of that role is very much evident in the fact that we are growing our scholarship program or student aid program to allow for more children to have access to the IB program. So I think that's a big part of our role. I think our role is also putting out children that are not just academically strong, but more a holistic approach to the well-being of a child. And so, that we see that from not just in our school programs from 8 to 3 o'clock, but even the after-school programs.
Being a part of the IB program was like a secret treasure that no one told me it was going to be, and then it was. Getting to know all of the teachers as they got through this program, some new teachers, some teachers who were being thrown into it for the first time, was such a special experience. And then later on, coming back as a teacher, being able to teach IB biology, being able to teach environmental systems and societies, being able to teach integrated sciences at the middle year program level, all of that brought me full circle to realize that it's a community.
It was such a unique experience going to school with so many people from all over the world, and just, walking into the atrium and you see all the flags. I think there's not many people that can say that they've had that experience, and I think that that's given me such a unique perspective on the world and the way that I solve problems, the way that I think about things, and I think that's just such a unique thing that you can't really recreate anywhere else.
I couldn't be more thankful to Cedar School for what they have done to prepare my kids for this next level. I think it's just a combination of the IB program, which, when we went to go look for universities for the kids, I could make a long story about this, but in all the cases, the person that was giving the tour would turn around and say, "Who's here from an IB school?" And the hairs on the back of my back would just spring up, and I would just be so thankful that here we were raising our kids on a small little island, and we could put up our hand. And in each case, the guide who had asked, "Why are you only asking about this program?" he would just say, "Because the IB program prepares kids for university." Point blank.
Honestly, I feel the quality and the caliber of work that we were doing at Cedar made college feel so much easier. I felt really prepared. I felt that I could handle the workload. I felt that I knew how to write a really good essay in the proper format. I knew how to put a presentation together, and all these little things that I did see a lot of my classmates struggling with in the early years of college, and I felt that I've already been in college for 2 years, so I feel like I've been training for it.
In my personal statement, I wrote that my long-term goal is to return to the BVI and set up a solar company. So eventually what happened was, when I was in my 4th year of university and working in the BVI because of COVID, Chris and I were always in touch, and he said that he was unhappy in his current position, and he asked if there was any opportunity to work together. And during my 4th year, during my dissertation, in my final semester, we were putting together the paperwork.
Yeah.
We did our trade license, we did the work permits, and by the time we graduated, we already had our first contract, which was on Mosquito Island.
I think probably the best thing for me anyway was the class group. We weren't just like I guess if you went to a normal school like back up in Canada or something, you'd be a part of a really large class. You probably don't necessarily even hang out or know very well a lot of people who might even be in your own grade. Whereas here, it was a very small group. There was at various times anywhere from about 8 to 12 of us in my grade. And so having that kind of tight-knit group, we got to know each other and work together a lot better, I think, and also kind of overcome the adversity that you get when you have the people in that kind of tight situation. You get to learn how to work with people, because you couldn't just avoid people, you had to actually learn how to cooperate, work together, and I think we all came out stronger for it.
That's well said. And you said you're still in touch with a lot of them, too.
Yeah, we get together as often as we can.
I think I felt very prepared. I think just with the IB program and how we were kind of encouraged to be very proactive with all the deadlines and being on top of everything. Especially the first year felt very, I guess you might hear it often, it felt easier than year 12 or grade 12 in the IB.
These kids have benefited from an education that took them right through to diploma, from kindergarten to diploma. And they have fitted into where they have gone, and they have excelled where they have gone. And when you look at my eldest, who was evacuated in his last year before doing the IB diploma to Bermuda, to an international school, and then succeeded in coming in the top 3 of the cohort in Bermuda, that is exactly what I mean about the ability for the IB program and this school to provide a fantastic platform.
I can say, seeing the school for the first time after the storm, because I live very close. I mean, I'm literally 200 yards away from the school, and it was very nice to wake up in the morning and look and see the school intact. And I understand, that it was used by a lot of the rescue agencies to stay after the storm as being one of the buildings that stayed intact, and I'm proud of that, actually.
Like, I have to say, I'll never forget after Irma, that hard decision that a few of us had to make. It was a moment where you have to think all the parents were leaving the island, which meant that we had no more income coming in. We still had to pay the teachers, right? So that's real money that, you're paying out. And we had to make the decision, is the BVI actually gonna come out of this? Because if it isn't, we have to close the school down.
And what we introduced in a daily local program after Irma to get kids off the street and into a schooling of some sort was a great reaction to what was happening on the ground. We didn't know the security situation. We didn't know how many teachers were going to stay. We didn't know how many children. And after Irma, we dropped enrollment by 200 children, right? But a year later, we were back up, and that's because we were able to provide a continuity.
And we immediately set out to start raising money, putting programs in place for the kids that were here, and it worked out really well. Look at where we're at now. We're back up to the level of number of students that we had pre-Irma.
I know, at a lot of other schools, it's like, oh yeah, you want to get first in your class to say that you're the best. But one thing I like about Cedar that they don't rank us, so that because we all take such different classes, especially in DP. So it's kind of hard to judge, who is the best and who is the worst. Not who is the worst, but who is the best. Because we all take such different classes, and we all have a different range of skills. Some of us are more with education, some of us are more skilled with music or art, so it's really hard to judge who really is the best. So that's why we don't have a valedictorian.
Yeah, there's definitely been opportunities, if you're stronger or weaker at something, there's always been opportunities within school, if you're good at sports, you can participate in the house activities. If you're really into arts, there's lots of arts things you can do. There's always something you can kind of focus on no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's even reflected within our administration. Even Mr. Pasco, he's not necessarily focused on our grades, but he talks a lot about grit in our lives.
So it's from the IB and international part to how do we create a truly in action, a holistic experience for our students. So when beyond classes and beyond academics to then how do we enrich them in ways that they want to explore their passion. So more music, more arts, the addition of electives, the taking a lot of the extracurricular things and embedding them into the school day was transformational, because then it allowed students to do as much music as they do math, or allow them to do a wide variety of choices throughout the year so they find their passions, or they get mental health breaks through yoga, or just doing sports. So that has been an essential part of creating that holistic approach to education that the IB wants us to do, but it's how to do that.
I agree. I feel this school has really had a focus on building character and personality. Grades of course have always been important, but I think what's most appreciated here is just being good people. And I think that's really been reflected with the IB learner profile traits, where growing up since primary, you've been told you gotta be caring, reflective, risk taker, principled, and you kind of go, you're yeah. But I feel we have actually taken those into account, and I feel
even if we don't, say, oh yeah, I'm being risk.
I feel everyone I've met here are just all strong people, all have strong characters, and I think that is partly because of the way the school has brought us up and has focused on like teaching us to be good people, not just good at doing the work.
I think the people who wanted Rainbow School, Parent Tutors Group, even Fishies, I think they'd be really excited to see where we've ended up now. Because the goal was to not send children away, keep families together, have a really great educational program. That was the goal for everybody. They did everything they could to provide an education for their students. So I think, even people long gone are looking down and around and thinking, wow, that is amazing, because it wasn't an easy road. There've been lots of challenges throughout the way, how the PTA had to change gears to really earn money to get this school going. There were so many motivated people, and I think at one point we were, there were people giving money and just trying to pave the way for this. And I think they'd be really, really excited and proud. And I know I am, because I know people want Cedar. They love the idea of Cedar, and it has still kept that family aspect of it. We're still all very interconnected. We're all still very much helping and giving, sharing our specialties and our love for this school.
When you've come so far and you're dealing with people who've just come in maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and they don't realize what your history is and how much you've given to the school and how much time you've invested in it, private time really, not time you were paid for, right? So it's quite difficult sometimes to make them understand that it's come so far so quickly, actually, in such a short time. And that's why I think I hate it when I see things being wasted and stuff like that, because it's like a few years ago we didn't have any of this stuff, and it's so valuable, really. And I think it makes you just realize how important it is, the history behind us that we're standing on.
Yeah. So how do you feel now?
Very proud. It's very fulfilling, very proud. I'm very thrilled to see what it's developed into. And it lasted.
Yes, exactly. And it will last for a long forever.
I think it's here.
Yeah, I'm sure it is too.
Yes.
I feel very much the same way.
I think the school has evolved, and it needed to evolve. It can't stay stagnant. It has to evolve with the community. And the fact that Cedar has built a viable high school program is huge to me. That's what we really wanted. And so that evolution was so important. And so I thank you and your staff and all of the people that have been through, that have helped to move Cedar from those early days, like a toddler playing in the dirt, to this setting now, and doing it for the community, what it's doing.
And as a school, I can't imagine there's a better school in the world. It's just, I think it's wonderful. It's such a nice atmosphere and such a caring, personal place, and it's just the right size.
Let me take this opportunity to offer sincere congratulations to Cedar on the 35th anniversary. And I expect you to continue growing from strength to strength.
But 35 years to sustain any organization, any institution, be it educational or otherwise, for 35 years is a tremendous achievement. And congratulations to Cedar, congratulations to all those who in some way, shape or form has made a contribution.
It's just wonderful to experience and to witness what Cedar School has become. And I really thank all those that came before who made these really hard decisions. I keep even saying it now, that as we're kind of moving on to perhaps build this performing arts center, somebody else before us had to make the hard decision to move to Kingston and to lay out this money, to lay out the foundations for what Cedar has become. And so I thank everybody before, that we're sitting around that boardroom making those hard decisions.
PVI is such a beautifully small place that when you support one school, you can change a real dynamic and have incredible impact. I believe in what Cedar has to offer. I believe in what the government schools have to offer. And it's my job and every citizen of this place, citizen, resident, guest, it's all of our job to make sure that the young people of the Virgin Islands have the best access to the best education that they can ever receive.
Cedar is by far my pride and joy, and I couldn't be more happy to be a graduate of Cedar School.
I am proud to be a Cedar graduate.
I'm proud to be a Cedar graduate.
Hi, I'm Chad Letsom, and I'm proud to be a Cedar graduate.
I'm proud to be a Cedar graduate.
I'm proud to be a Cedar graduate.
I'm Christopher Fletcher, and I am very proud to be a Cedar graduate.
My name is Will Adamson, class of 2016, and I'm very proud to be a Cedar graduate.
I'm proud to be a Cedar graduate.
Happy 35th anniversary, Cedar, and I'm proud to be a graduate, class of 2017.
I am proud to be a Cedar graduate.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey through Cedar history. As we look at the thriving school Cedar is today, we recognize that it was made possible by the dedicated people who put it all in motion more than 35 years ago, and by all those who contributed along the way. We are grateful to them and hope they are proud of the Cedar they see today.